History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. On April 5th, 1933, the U.S. government issued Executive Order 6102, making it illegal for Americans to own gold. Fast forward to December 28th, 2025, and the stage is being set for what experts are calling Confiscation 2.0. But this time, they aren't coming for your gold bars first, they're coming for your digital liquidity. If you think your wealth is safe because it's in a regulated bank, you've ignored the most important lesson of the last century. Why has Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway moved to a record $400 billion cash position while simultaneously exiting major bank stocks? The mainstream media calls it caution, but insiders call it evacuation. Buffett knows that when a system is about to reset, the first thing that disappears is liquidity. He isn't waiting for the crash. He has already moved his capital behind the firewall. And the question is, why haven't you? While the world focuses on bank digital currencies, the physical silver market has quietly entered a state of permanent deficit. We are seeing industrial giants like Tesla and Samsung outbid central banks for physical delivery. This is the silver trap. JP Morgan and the COMEX have sold hundreds of paper ounces for every physical ounce in their vaults. When the music stops on January 1st, there won't be enough chairs for the paper contract holders. In 1933, they needed door-to-door inspections to find gold. In 2026, they only need a single line of code. The new reporting requirements for transactions over $600 were just the beginning. The goal is total visibility of every dollar you move. This is soft confiscation, where your ability to spend your own money is restricted based on social credit or climate compliance scores. Your wealth is being held hostage by a digital gatekeeper. Economists are warning of a Minsky moment in early 2026, a sudden major collapse of asset values which marks the end of the debt cycle. The U.S. national debt has reached a level where interest payments are cannibalizing the economy. To survive, the government must either devalue the dollar by 50% or tax the existing wealth directly from bank accounts. Historically, they always choose both. Notice how hard it has become to withdraw large amounts of cash from your local branch. This isn't for your protection. It is to keep the capital inside the system so it can be bailed in when the crisis hits. The banks are essentially prisons for your purchasing power. Silver is one of the few assets that exists outside this prison system. It is private, portable, and has no counterparty risk. On the other side of the world, the BRICS nations are finalizing a gold and silver-backed settlement system. They are actively draining Western vaults to back their own currencies. This great migration of metal from west to east is the real reason why silver prices are being manipulated downward. It's a desperate attempt by Western banks to buy back what they've already lost before the new year begins. Inflation is the most dishonest form of confiscation. If the government prints 20% more money, the 20% value of your savings is effectively confiscated without a single law being passed. In 2025, we've seen real-world inflation in food and energy far outpace the official CPI numbers. Your $100,000 in the bank is buying 30% less than it did 3 years ago. You are being robbed in slow motion. Silver is the Achilles heel of the modern world. Without it, there is no AI, no 5G, and no green revolution. As we enter 2026, the industrial demand alone is projected to exceed total global mine production. The banks are shorting a metal that is more essential than oil. This is a mathematical impossibility. When the short squeeze happens, it won't just be a price hike, it will be a total disappearance of available physical metal. Just like in 1933, the government will use a crisis as a justification for emergency powers. Back then, it was the Great Depression. Today, it could be a cyber attack on the banking grid or a climate emergency. Under emergency laws, the Federal Reserve has the power to freeze assets and revalue the dollar overnight. If you don't have physical assets in your possession, you are at the mercy of their valuation. We are seeing new rules that limit who can buy certain physical assets, often under the guise of investor protection. They want to keep the retail investor trapped in paper ETFs like SLV, while the institutional players move into physical bars. They are closing the door behind them. By the time the average person realizes they need silver, the retail supply will be out of stock across the country. Silver is the people's money. It represents financial independence. Banks hate it because they cannot print it, they cannot freeze it, and they cannot track it once it leaves the vault. Every ounce of silver you buy is an ounce of power you take back from the centralized system. This is why the media calls it a bad investment, while the banks themselves are hoarding record amounts of it. There have been multiple simulations by global financial bodies regarding a massive cyber attack on the banking system. In these scenarios, digital accounts are frozen for weeks. How would you buy food? How would you pay for fuel? Physical silver coins are the ultimate plan B. They have been used as a medium of exchange for 5,000 years, and they don't require an internet connection or a functioning power grid to work. As we approach the January 1st rollover, the open interest on silver futures is at dangerously high levels. There are too many people holding paper silver and not enough physical metal to go around. We expect a delivery failure event in early 2026. This is the moment the paper price and the physical price will completely decouple. The price on your screen will become irrelevant. Only the price of the metal in your hand will matter. Mining silver is becoming more expensive every year as ore grades decline and energy costs rise. We have reached peak silver. Most of the easy-to-reach silver has already been mined and consumed by industry. Unlike gold, which is mostly stored, silver is used. Once it's in a solar panel or a cell phone, it's gone for decades. We are literally burning through the world's most undervalued asset. If a major bank fails in 2026, the taxpayers will not save it. The depositors will. The Dodd-Frank Act in the U.S. specifically allows for your deposits to be converted into bank equity, or worthless stock, to keep the bank afloat. This is legal, it is on the books, and it is the ultimate confiscation. Your savings are legally unsecured debt of the bank. Let that sink in before you leave your life savings in a digital ledger. The era of dollar hegemony is ending. Nations like India, Russia, and Saudi Arabia are no longer willing to trade their real resources for unbacked paper digits. They want real value. This shift will cause a massive homecoming of dollars back to the US, triggering a final wave of hyperinflation. In this environment, silver doesn't just go up. It protects your labor from being wiped out by a failing currency. This isn't just about gold and silver. It's about being a sovereign individual. It's about making sure that no matter what laws are passed on January 1st, your family's future is secure. Wealth protection is a moral responsibility. If you have worked hard for your money, you owe it to yourself to ensure that it cannot be taken away with the stroke of a pen in Washington, D.C. We are in the quiet before the storm. The premiums on silver are currently manageable, and supply is still available if you look hard enough. But once the panic starts, the precious metals market becomes a very small door with a very large crowd trying to get through. Don't be the person standing in line at the coin shop when the sign says, "Sold out." Be the person who already has their position secured. The signs are everywhere, from Buffett's cash pile to the new digital banking laws. Confiscation 2.0 is not a possibility, it is an active process. On January 1st, the rules of the game change. Watch the COMEX delivery notices and watch the bank liquidity reports closely. The 1933 warning is ringing loud and clear. Position yourself now, because once the reset begins, there will be no second chances to exit the digital trap.